Woman of 9.9 billion Story Part 3. Episode 5 and 6 Recap. Seo-yeon arrives home, flustered, to a very stressed In-pyo who's meticulously working on his model boat and muttering to himself. We then cut to Tae-woo, who meets with Mr. Oh to get help in his investigation while Jae-hoon rushes to the abandoned house to find the well empty. This prompts him to go and find Seo-yeon, who tells him she put the money somewhere safe, but he demands his half given his having trouble at the foundation. She warns against it though, given someone suspicious came to the villa. After Seo-yeon refuses to give him any money, Jae-hoon tries asking his wife, who tells him she knows he's in trouble and wants to know if he has been spending his money on his new mistress. Despite denying it, she slaps him and walks off past Tae-woo, who happens to be there to question her husband about the accident. As Jae-woo explains that he was asleep that night, Tae-woo notices him acting nervously. After the ex-cop leaves his office, Jae-woo calls Seo-yeon panicking, and tells her that they need to move the money. We then see him leave the building while Tae-woo watches him, ready to follow from afar. Jae-hoon arrives at the house and when he sees the stack of money, is unable to resist and takes 500,000 for himself, despite Seo-yeon's protests. However, the owner of the house, Yo Emira, suddenly comes back and is shocked to find a man with so much money in her house. Just as she is about to call the police, Jae-hoon stops her and accidentally pushes her against the tank, where she hits her head and collapses on the floor, unconscious. As Seo-yeon calls an ambulance, Jae-hoon packs the money in suitcases and brings it to his car while Tae-woo watches him. The ex-cop then follows him to a warehouse where he sees him hide the money. After leaving the hospital, Seo-yeon meets with Jae-hoon to tell him the woman had surgery. He explains that he hid the money in a warehouse but worries about Emira waking up. She tells him they will potentially have to split the money 3 ways with her, which he refuses to do. Meanwhile, Tae-woo meets with Mr. Oh at his bar and asks him for a favor. He needs help with getting the beautiful bartender, HNA, back to his bar, as Black Bear, recently released from prison, has recruited her to another bar, which means fewer customers for him. Tae-woo heads to said bar and calls HNA over, prompting Black Bear to confront the ex-cop. Unfortunately, a fight breaks out between the two on the rooftop, which is soon stopped by Tae-woo's ex-colleague, Park. He reminds him about their painful past. Seo-yeon decides to see Hee-joo to talk about her husband's contract. In her office, Hee-joon receives a call from her father revealing that Jae-hoon has managed to find money to clear the deficit. This prompts Seo-yeon to call him to confront him about using the money before they were in the clear. He tells her he had no choice and that from now on, he will be in charge as he knows where the money is. Seo-yeon leaves the hotel and as she gets into her car, Tae-woo suddenly appears and sits next to her. He asks her if Jae-hoon told her he came to visit him, and while she acts like she doesn't know what he's talking about, he tells her he knows she took the money that night from the scene of the accident, which is where the episode ends. There is quite an interesting contrast between the two accomplices this week given how they deal with their crime. Seo-yeon manages to stay calm and composed, planning ahead to make sure they will not get caught, while Jae-hoon is more impulsive, so desperate to keep and use the money that he almost kills someone in the process. It will be interesting to see what they will do once the victim wakes up in hospital and if they do indeed manage to blackmail her. Another mystery briefly mentioned in the episode is what happened to the 100 million difference from the 10 billion taken. My guess is that it's not the last we'll hear of it and there might be another twist coming regarding this. Woman of 9.9 billion remains quite thrilling to watch this week, slowly building up the tension, especially now that Tae-woo knows who took the money. Will he hand them over to Do-hak or will he team up with them? These questions should hopefully be answered quite soon, but in the meantime, Woman of 9.9 billion offers quite the twisted and original concept, helped by the excellent acting from the main cast.